should be live and up and running. Hello everyone, let's just make sure that everything is fine because things tend to not be recently on YouTube and stuff. So, how are we all doing? How are we going? Hoping good rather than bad. Let's just switch to the right face cam. There we go. Yeah, I hope we're all doing well. It's been a while since I've done a stream. I've been trying to keep up with YouTube stuff. I've been quite bad at keeping up with YouTube stuff. But I figured, given what the shenanigans have been over the past few days, it was probably worth a little bit of a natter to talk about what's been going on in the world of Leeds United at the minute. Because when you look at it, it's not been particularly good, has it? And it's made me sort of update where the head is in terms of Leeds United-y bits. But before we get into all that, how is everyone in the chat? If you're feeling good, whack a 1 in there. That'll also make sure that this is working. It's always good to find these things out. And how are we feeling on the wider situation? Because oh my, this is an unfun one, isn't it? Afternoon, Joe. Hope you're well. Okay, so I'm going to start with this bit because I want to get this bit sort of out there rather than have a bad stream and then feel like I'm making excuses for it after the fact. So on Saturday, I'd had a night shift the day before, hadn't really a chance to eat much, and then it was Saturday evening. I had a little bit of a collapse, which was thankfully in a hospital rather than anywhere else, which meant that obviously people were there immediately to help out with stuff, but I clonked my noggin fairly badly. Which means that if I sort of lose trains of conversation from time to time, because I also had a night shift the night after that, then that would explain why. I am mostly well, but I am feeling a little bit low on confidence, a little bit of stinging up here. It's not like a headache pulsing through the brain. It's not like a concussion-y thing. It just kind of hurts. But that's just to sort of explain why I might not be on my game right now, as a little bit of a quick summary and a explainer. Also, I've got 2 pissing cold sores at the same time, which is good, and a spot here, which is good. I'm having a hell of a day right now. Afternoon, Joe. All good here. Any baby news? Not quite yet. We are having Stacks out with a concussion. Oh, good. That's nice. I'm not the only one with one then. I don't have a concussion. I thought I'd do a joke. Okay, that's not great. In terms of baby news, we got a scan tomorrow. We got a midwife visit on Friday, but we've not had an arrival yet. I'll keep people updated on that one. I've got a few videos pre-recorded to put out then when I do, but we'll find out how that one goes. So, we got to talk about the big thing that's going on. And I am going to put it this way before we dive into things, that disagreeing with one another and disagreeing with me in the comments, all good. I am very much looking forward to a little bit of lively chat going on in there, just to see what people's thoughts are, all that kind of stuff. However, because I know how we tend to be as a fan base, and that is incredibly passionate and getting our point across no matter what language we use, there's a hell of a lot of people that in recent days have just gone in on individual players, on the manager, and they've taken it from the professional, which is, I don't think this, or this was right, I don't think this was right, and they've taken it to the personal, which is insulting people's nationality for whatever reason. People have gotten pretty fucking racist with it at points. We're not doing that. That's not the channel for this. What we're going to do is we're going to have a conversation about the form, about the tactics, about all that kind of stuff, and we're going to ideally see the way that we're all feeling. Because it's all good to have a chat, but the moment people start feeling unsafe in a space, that's a little bit far. Thank you very much, Adrian. I will get well soon, well enough, because I've got football tonight. That was fun. This time last week as well, I was at 7-a-side. I made one really good save down to my left, but I had to like paw it upwards to try and get the ball away. However, they had a man completely unmarked at the far post. We've seen that one before. So I go across to try and save it, and it turns out this guy, who hasn't scored all season, has like cranked his leg back. He's kicked through it as hard as he fucking can, and I got a volley from 1.5 yards away to the side of the head. So that was fun as well. So that again could contribute to the not very on point streaming right now. But anyway, that's all the sort of house business done, all of the let's not get hyper offensive towards people because there's no need. Let's talk football. And one of the more recent streams that I did, which was, I'll have a look at what specific stream it was, but it was looking at Daniel Farke's form and how Leeds United are doing and what's been going on with the club and all this kind of stuff. It was, okay, fine, let's talk about Farke, which I think was a thing that we needed to do. And then we had the international break, and then it was now. And I think in that stream I said, we're coming into a pretty nasty run of events. Coming into Villa, then 3 of the best sides in the league, and that's not what you want to be doing, ideally. So if we are able to pull things into a little bit more of a nice shape, at least help the tactical side of things, brilliant. I just want to see signs of improvement from the Villa game. And early on, we had those signs of improvement. We were pressing incredibly hard, we were pressing incredibly high, we were putting the other team into difficult situations. And part of the thing that annoys me more than anything else about what Leeds United are doing at the minute is we're letting other teams put us in those situations first. We are allowing other sides to just pen us in. And for the first, let's have a quick look, 15 minutes or so, if I'm having a look at the attacking momentum graph, we're doing pretty damn well. For the first half an hour or so, Villa aren't getting anything off either. Because after we've scored, understandably, they're going to want to get back into the game. Fair enough. That's allowed. It's okay to see it just sort of drop off a little bit. But then it's the sort of allowance of Villa to come back into the game that I was deeply unhappy with. The fact that immediately after half time, we're just like, no, you know what, let's just open the door. Let's just let them do their thing. And that led to the inevitable thing that we all knew was going to happen, which was the first goal being conceded. And the first goal is admittedly a very nice goal from them. There's not too much you can do about it as a keeper because it gets redirected a yard or two in front of you. I'm not going to be too mad at Bogle because he's tracked his man as far as he can and he's tried to get his foot in the way. Not happy with the lack of challenge before that, the fact that he's effectively danced his way around us, but whatever, fine. But from that point, it's like we effectively looked at the match and we thought, we'd take a point. Right, and we forgot that we were in the lead for a while. We forgot that we were in a pretty fucking good position. If I have a look at the statistics from that match, we were in a good position throughout. 1.79 XG to their 1.58. The difference is, in the first half, we created 1.23 of that. Second half, 0.56. So there's that constant thing of pushing incredibly hard in that first half, and then it comes out for the second half and it's like, let's just chill a bit. Because we were outplayed in that second half, comfortably. We didn't deserve to win according to that second half. I'll get on subs in a minute, Mark, but the Tanaka one is interesting. Because as far as I'm aware with the Tanaka thing, and I've heard this mentioned by a good few people, the 4th official apparently told Daniel Farke that if Tanaka made another foul, that would probably be a second yellow card for topping up. Totting. There we go. So that was more of a case of let's get him out of there just to keep him safe and make sure that nothing goes wrong. Which I understand, because I will be completely honest with you, I want to see Tanaka start the next match. Because he shone in this game. His progression was brilliant, his retention was fantastic. There were a number of times where he would either win the ball or receive the ball surrounded by 4 men and just dance out of it and play it back and just say, okay, cool, we've kept possession, which is a good thing. And the fact is he came off because he had to. But maybe there's an argument he should have started in the first place. Because I think Tanaka was fantastic in that game, and I wouldn't take a single thing away from him. He did genuinely brilliantly. I've just had a look at Adrian's comment, brilliant analysis of the Villa winner from Joe Hart on Match of the Day on Saturday. I've not seen the analysis. I will have a look at that after this, but I would like to make a fairly important note on that. Because this is one where, again, a lot of people might go, you just keep apologising for goalkeepers. I'm not apologising for him, I'm just explaining. Leeds versus Villa. Let's pull it up. And let's find it. Cool. So, this is the perfect screenshot for it, actually. If I go to monitor 2, that should work. Cool. So, we're in this situation here. You've got Lucas Perry here. We've got the Leeds United wall with Aronson stretching as far as he can. Fair play to him. The main problem is this little Villa mini wall. Because the reason that the goal works so well is that Perry doesn't see the ball. Basically, in the slightest. Shot is taken... Let's get to the right point. Here. And at this point, your view from direct is blocked by the 3 Villa players, so you can't see a single thing. And he doesn't see it until here. When it's over the wall, and at that point, you're not getting anywhere near that. It's a really well-worked goal from them. It's a really irritating goal to concede for us. But, I mean, I don't know why Rodon doesn't get higher on his jump. Rodon's done a little hop. If Rodon is at the same height as, like, a Strauch, he potentially gets on that. But that's fine. Yeah, I think for that one, I'm probably putting it on Rodon, but we're dealing with the nitty-gritty and the fact that we shouldn't be in this situation in the first place. Also, just to cut this one off, Tommy, you can't say to me, stop blaming Farke, you don't have the squad for this league, when of all the people in the Leeds United space, and I'm sure the chat will agree with me, tell me if you do, I'm one of the more level-headed people in this space. I'm someone that's like, yeah, let's not just jump on people because at the end of the day, there are multiple mistakes. I'm not someone to heap blame on anyone at any point ever, because that's not what I do. But in this instance, I personally don't think there is anyone else to be blamed. So the individual goals, sure, you might blame Perry. Perry can't see the fucking ball on the way through. That's a well-worked free kick by Aston Villa, and the reason you have a wall is to block the shot, so a bit more height from Rodon would have been lovely. But that's not the pure reason that we lost this game of football. For me, the reason we lost the game of football was inflexibility, was an inability to... I mean, a lot of people saying, I hope we don't see the reactive subs from Daniel Farke again. We didn't even get the reactions this time. Instead, it was, they brought a couple of players on at half-time. It's not a matter of let's see what their shape is now and see what they end up doing. It's a case of, oh, okay, cool, we'll just wait till 70-something minutes before we make any substantial adjustments. Those needed to be sooner. A lot sooner. Because there were so many times where, and again, I'm going to have a potentially controversial one again, which is that I don't hate the way that Brendan Aronson played in that game. Because he gave the ball away a decent amount, sure. Who the fuck is with him to pass the ball to? Because we're also currently playing a system where we've not got the runners coming from deep to support players in those situations. Okafor consistently felt like he needed to try and take on a man that he wasn't going to be able to beat. Because there was no one really with him. And then we got to the latter points of the game and you see shit like Pascal Strauch having to overlap around the outside of Gudmundsson because we've done the throw the strikers on thing again. And you sort of have to think, well, what's going on? What's happening here? You know? Where I disagree with you, Joe, we're constantly beaten by the better team. Morgan Rogers will be playing for England in the World Cup, sure. But Autanaka's playing for Japan in the World Cup. It's not like we're short on international footballers at the moment. And sure, they had better players than us, brilliant. The issue is, we also had good players on the bench. And you could see the moment, the single moment that we put on Dan James, the dynamic shifted. And you know what? I've really liked the way that dynamic shifted, because that was a case of, right, Aronson goes inside, which is fine, because he's also going to do the defensive work. He's not playing as a pure 10, he's a sort of high 8. And then you've got Dan James to get onto the runs in behind. And the fact of the matter is, almost everyone could see that after half-time and their adjustments that they made at half-time, the thing that made sense was change the dynamic. Because they changed it in response to us scoring that goal and the way that we were playing in the first half. And our next changes were on the 71st minute, which is nuts. That's far too late. You cannot wait that long before you're making those adjustments, because if they've scored on 48 minutes, then you've got another 23 or so to see what has fundamentally gone wrong here and say, okay, let's make a few adjustments. But not only that, they made those changes on 46 minutes, and they made another set of changes on 68 before we made any. You had chance of make a sub on about 60 minutes because everyone that was in the ground, and almost everyone at home, could see that something had fundamentally gone wrong. And we needed to change things because we were already drawing after winning this game of football. Let's not lose. And then the James change improved things. And I think Calvert-Lewin improved things. And I'll be honest, very, very unlucky with the handball goal thing. It sort of deflects on the way to him, so there's not really much that you can do about that. It's a case of, if there's a deflection in the box and you're a defender and it hits your hand, that likely doesn't get given. However, because Calvert-Lewin was the goal scorer, here we are. But it's tricky, I think. Because I think the Tanaka subs were right. Bringing him on was the right call because he was very, very, very good. Taking him off was going to have been the right call because if you didn't take him off, then he probably gets a red card. And then you've got Stack, who now we know is concussed and unavailable for... Is it 2 weeks or 10 days that you're unavailable when you've got a concussion? I want to say 2 weeks. I'll run off the assumption of 2 weeks, right? And 2 weeks puts him out for City and Chelsea and Liverpool. If you've also lost Tanaka to a red card for the City match, then your midfield looks like Ampadu, Gruev, Longstaff, and there is no ball progression there. 10 days, okay, cool. In that case, it'd be City and Chelsea, where we've not got Stack. And you can't add a red card to that. So that makes sense. That's fine. That's all good. Using that as a way to sort of transition the way that we're playing also helps. We went into more of a 4-2-3-1. Again, Aronson wasn't a pure 10, and I'll be honest, isn't a pure 10. We all know this. But he played that role reasonably well. I'm not entirely sure on the Calvert-Lewin for Mecha move. I don't think Calvert-Lewin did anything strictly wrong. I think the save from Martinez was going out of play anyway. But I don't know. I'm not sure. Could Tanaka get anywhere near the England team if he was English? No, but there's a hell of a lot of English players that don't get anywhere near the English team. Harvey Barnes, you would take right now, without a doubt. Almost everyone that is watching this would go, Harvey Barnes wants to come to Leeds? Absolutely, let's get him in. There's a reason that he's currently talking to Scotland to see if he can play for them at the World Cup. And that reason is quite clearly because he's not getting in the England side. Like, if we're basing it on, did the opposing team have someone that plays for England, then sure, yeah, we get dicked most weeks. But there was also that conversation a few months back of, does Jayden Bogle get in the England side? So, it's tough. It's difficult. I think for me, James is one that has to start very consistently now. Because he clearly improved us. But the question is, what else changes? Because you keep seeing people shouting for the three at the back. Honestly, when we're in possession, we play with three at the back anyway. Because Ampadu drops. So that's a completely different question. Bogle's never starting over Trent and Reece James. How was that a conversation? It was a conversation because Reece James is constantly injured. Trent is sometimes considered more of a midfielder. I know that Tuchel scouted him at one point, but I don't know. Oh yeah, it's not a he gets in. It's a they were keeping an eye on him kind of situation. But hello, Ricky. And then you got to get to the big conversation. And the big conversation is, what do you do with Daniel Farke? And people are going to have different answers to this one. And I'm going to stick with roughly what I was thinking prior to the Villa match. And that is, I don't think there's anything to be gained by a new manager coming in for the City match, the Chelsea match, or the Liverpool match. I think for me, if you get someone in and the first 3 matches that they face is a landmine, then you're inviting problems. I think if a set of players sees a new manager and their new sort of tactics and that kind of thing, and there are like the immediate results they get is 4-0 loss, 3-0 loss, 5-0 loss, that manager immediately has a toxic fan base and a toxic dressing room, which is in itself a colossal issue. Because having heard bits and bobs that I am not going to be discussing at the moment, because I don't think I know enough to, I don't know how much dressing room backing Daniel Farke necessarily has at the minute. Which keeps things difficult. Hannah says, I'd like to know who we get in, should we get rid? Everyone's going to have a different answer to that. I've seen people shouting Sam Allardyce again, for fuck's sake. Like, I know who my personal manager preferences would be. Because I've got a style of football that I quite like seeing and I quite like Leeds to do. I know a lot of people have had conversations about other people. Russell Martin is free. That's nice. Russell Martin got Southampton very relegated. So that's a no thank you. Because people's first thing is, what name do I know that I've seen do the Premier League before? And people's immediate jumps is, okay, I'm glad you are joking. That's good. But yeah, my fear is Rodgers, because I've seen Brendan Rodgers be a significant part of the conversation. But then again, if you have a look at the players that are available, you've got, not players, managers, you've got Motta, who is around, you've got Marco Rosa, who is around, you've got Edin Terzic, who's around. I'd love to see Edin Terzic. Terzic should be fantastic. But is he going to be that fantastic when he swings into a job and immediately faces off with those 3 sides and everyone looks at him and goes, well, German football never translated or whatever? The Rodgers thing, the reason that I wouldn't like to lean towards Rodgers is the fact that absolutely everyone at Leicester was like, well, no, because he's crap. Hold on. Okay. So, an ideal with Edin Terzic is that he wasn't sacked, which is fun. The 41-year-old asked Dortmund to terminate his contract after deciding he needed to pursue his career elsewhere. Terzic is now expected to take a break from football, and he has now had a break for about 18 months. But he would eventually be keen to work in the Premier League when the opportunity arises. I think Edin Terzic would be a fantastic move. I like the way that Edin Terzic plays. And it gets us away from that pile of steaming dross, is the nice way that I'm going to put it, that is just the same recycled 4 managers. Like, I'm surprised that no one shouted, get Mick McCarthy in. Because we know what people do. People will just shout the names that they know. And that's not what we need to do. My issue is I like Farke, but it's not going to. Well, I don't trust the 49ers to get the next appointment right, so I don't know where I stand with the manager now. Hold on, I'm trying to keep up with things. He's doing a terrible job and has turned it back on the fans. Right, okay, so I want an English manager at Leeds. Okay, why? And quick reminder before you give your reasons, Julian. There has never been an English manager to win the Premier League. None. So if with that in mind, you can tell me why we need an English manager, go for it. But Joe, recruitment's the issue, not Farke. How can we score goals with 2 free strikers that were free for a reason? Yeah, and that's also a bit of a pain in the dick. But the issue is that's what we've got right now. And I'm still in the position of give them the 3 games of the Chelsea, the City, the Liverpool. But if that also goes wrong, then we've got, I think, 13 points from 17 or something, and that's not enough in the slightest. And we are going to be on sort of the 10-game run that would come before the end of that. So if you add our last 7 games to those 3, let's assume that let's guess nicely and say that we concede 8 goals in those matches. In that case, we've conceded 23 and 10. That's not survivable for me, which is a problem. Just to be clear, by the way, he's not been blaming fans for shit going wrong. That's not a thing. There was the whole mental health comment, and I understand it, because even like being on YouTube, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys right now. Part of the reason that I haven't been making stuff on YouTube for a while is because it is a toxic pit. And if I come into a stream and I have what someone deems to be the wrong opinions, then I'll just get screamed at for an hour. And it makes doing streaming stuff deeply unpleasant, genuinely horrible. So I just don't. And I would love to be able to do it more, but when the wobbly times happen, people lash out at the first public face that they can see, and having a face that is currently public as I'm speaking right now, you tend to become someone that gets lashed out at. So I just haven't recently. I've just not. Roger's more experienced than the names you said. Okay, counterpoint. Barry Bannon has more experience than Lamine Yamal. Would you take Barry Bannon instead? No. Because it's almost like ability also matters in addition to experience. But yeah, I'm currently in a spot of, if we can get a bunch of points against City, Chelsea, Liverpool, sure. And if we demonstrate an improvement that it comes in the form of making tactical changes, substitutes, actively improving things at the right time rather than waiting too long, okay. If we can see in the next few weeks that there is a sign of Daniel Farke learning and things improving, I will be over the fucking moon. That'd be lovely. But I don't necessarily see that happening. No, I want Rodgers. Okay, so you would have signed Barry Bannon, is what we're going with. Nice. You can want Rodgers, but I am allowed to disagree, and I think that that would be a bad call, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, he wasn't wrong with those mental health comments. Because the amount of digging out of individual players, and we all know the individual players that get more than targeted when this happens. We know that it's the likes of an Aronson or a Harrison. Harrison, by the way, did not do very, very well in his last appearance, and I think that's why he didn't come on in this one. But I think a lot of what we do as fans is get incredibly toxic, incredibly heated, incredibly quickly. And I think making that mental health comment is one that makes sense. Because you've also got people in the space who are like, yeah, mental health matters and all this kind of stuff. And then, specifically, I saw someone on Twitter doing this. And then calling Brendan Aronson a yank bastard or something. And it's like, okay, criticise the way he's playing. But I understand why you've got a manager saying, let's not do that, because that's a little bit fucked. Because that's a bit not good. We may get to see Stack in the 6 in the next game, which I've heard is more the role he likes to play. We won't, because Stack has a concussion. So that's good. Looks like 49ers well blood about Rangers more than us to me. I don't think so. I think they're just doing more than one thing at once. we all accepting Farke's getting the chop? I think that it will be a decision that the 49ers make after 2 matches. If we lose the next 2 and it's genuinely embarrassing, then I think they make the decision and it maybe only becomes public after the 3rd. Because I think there's still space to save his job if you're Daniel Farke. I don't think it is an easy space to be in. I think it will take a hell of a lot of work. If we're getting a new manager, it's vital he gets a window to come back and sort this out. If we change, we have to do it before January. Yeah, without a doubt. I think any managerial switches you cannot do partway through January or after the fact, because you will be building a squad for a different person. Which isn't great, to be completely honest with you. So it's going to have to be give him a window and see how that one goes. And there will be conversations with other managers going on behind the scenes. There will potentially be reaching out to a Rodgers or a Terzic or a Rosa, or probably not Martin, but those conversations will be happening consistently. But how's things? Who's your top 3 to replace Farke if he goes? Sorry if you've already said I'm late in. The number 1 is Terzic for me. Wouldn't mind Motta. Wouldn't mind Rosa. And I'm going to get in front of this before anyone notes it. Yes, they have managed at Red Bull clubs. No, that doesn't mean they play the identical brand of football. Because it's a different thing. Is Ampadu out for the next match? I hadn't seen anything about Ampadu being out. Let's have a look. I love that I've immediately gone, how many yellow cards does Ethan Ampadu have? Because if it's for any reason, it'll be bookings. He's only on 4. That's fine. That's not going to be the problem. What happened when we replaced Heckingbottom with Bielsa? What happened when Villa... Well, what are you talking about now, Clive? I'm confused. People have to understand that their words have great power, and to me, more considerate with what they say online. Benjamin Bloom did a great video on the toxicity. I will have to give that a look at some point. I think he's suspended. He isn't yet. You need 5 bookings for a suspension. He's only on 4. So when he gets one, playing against... Is it City or Chelsea next? City. When he gets one against City, then he will be suspended. But until that point, probably not. I need to get away from the idea that hiring a top manager is a once-in-a-lifetime event. What? I don't think anyone's saying that it's a once-in-a-lifetime event. I think it's an idea that top managers aren't necessarily the biggest names. So the way that everyone was just screaming Jose Mourinho, and it's like, okay, cool, so you're using the guy's good shit from 15 years ago to see if he would drop in and be really, really good in a relegation battle that he's never done before. Okay. That's why I don't think the Mourinho one would work. I think it needs to be a case of finding talent from all over the shop, grabbing it, and implementing that, rather than, here's a big name I recognise, let's hire them. That's the main thought. What, your name? My name's on my channel. It's down here. There's my name. And if you see a big red subscribe button next to the name, I think you should press it. Oh my god. That would be lovely. Also, like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. You see, it took me 35 minutes before I got into all of that, so you guys need to be proud of it. But yes, please like and subscribe and all the fun stuff. Thank you. How does paying out Farke affect PSR for the January window? I don't know. We would probably have to do a sale anyway. You can't, realistically, Clive, you can't say shut up about PSR because it is going to affect us no matter what. It's just a question of to which degree does it affect us. Need a manager whose system, not whose system, whose system, fisting him will be very different. System fits the players we have, not the ones we wish we had. Yeah. I mean, Farke made adjustments, but even then, I don't know. As Danny said, smash a like and subscribe and be a channel member if you can. Because there will be more videos coming and they will be early for members as always. But that's the general gist. Don't know why we don't go 5 at the back. I think we have the players for that. I think the issue with that is you potentially lose the midfield fight. It's the same reason that sides don't go to a 4-4-2 anymore. Because 2 central midfielders isn't necessarily enough. If you're playing 3 at the back, you probably want someone to step up and sort of take on that onus, I suppose. But you can't. Like, what 2 midfielders would you trust to get that level of control and creativity? If you go into a 3-4-3, if you go in 3-5-2, oh, thank you for subscribing, Lee. If you're going 3-5-2, then sure, you pack that area out, but the wide areas, we've got so many players that will just be completely left out and ignored, and there's a lot of talent there that you're not giving minutes anymore, because out on the right, do you do Bogle or do you do James? Because James is more of a creator going forwards. Out on the left, you've got Goodmanson, who's a shout. You've got Okafor, who's a shout. You've got Nonto, who's a shout. Nonto also a shout for the right, but is he going to do the defensive work? So I think what we've done as a club is create a system that is... Not create a system, sorry. Build a squad that works for 4 at the back without doing the stuff that you need to work at the top. So Farke's response to that was, okay, we'll go 4-3-3. And people will point to the centre-backs thing and go, yeah, well, you can do Bornau, who plays in the back 3. You can do Beal, who plays in the back 3. Sure. But then I think that harms our creativity even more. And let's be honest, a lot of the goals we've conceded have come from individual mistakes and structurally not marking people, which is bad. Which is, I think, a bit of a managerial thing. Why are we suddenly locked into a 4-3-3? Because I don't know if we've got what we need to have for a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2 or whatever you want to call it. I think a lot of our creativity has come from having 2 options in those wide areas as opposed to just 1. Because what we don't do much of is have runners through the middle. And all of a sudden you're saying, okay, cool, now we'll do runners through the middle because we need that because we're playing a 3-5-2. That's not going to happen because those players don't do that. Like, if you've got Bogle and James on a flank, you've got a lot of sort of volatility that the other side need to deal with. If you've just got Bogle out there, well, just mark him. And sure, someone might be unmarked in the middle, but Longstaff isn't making those box-crashing runs. So maybe Aronson is one of your players in the middle, but then does everyone still lose their mind because Aronson's playing football? It's all problems, I think. Let fullbacks go forward and Ampadu covers the defence. We really need a 10 for this. We do. We could really do with a number 10. And this is where Daniel Farke doesn't bear the entirety of the blame for this, because throughout we've seen a consistent thing of, since we lost Jorginho Rutter, Daniel Farke has gone, oh, we could do with a 10. We could really do with a number 10. And that was 2 years ago. And that was at the end of Daniel Farke's 2nd window. So that summer, we didn't get a 10, and everyone's like, we kind of need a 10 right now. That winter, everyone's saying, we could really do with a 10 at the moment, and you didn't get it. The next summer, the one that's just passed, everyone's saying, could really do with a 10 at the moment. Didn't get it. 18 months, not 2 years, my bad. But when you have a look at a manager who's playing a 4-2-3-1 and the number 10 is Brendan Aronson, who isn't doing the creativity because we had, like, hold on, I'm going to have a look and find the specific number. But they're fundamentally different 10s. Last season, Aronson, 9 goals, 2 assists. Cool, 11 goal involvements. But with a 10, you ideally want a little bit of creativity. Let's have a look at the shot creating actions for Brendy last season. If I can. There we go. Last season, Aronson, 145 shot creating actions. Cool, that's not too bad. It's fairly decent. Season before, if we have a look at Georgie, if I can find it, shot creating actions, 183. And a lot of those were created from those weirder situations, and there were higher quality chances that were being put on a plate for our players, which is exactly why Rute came out that season with 16 assists. And that's what we needed. We needed a playmaker. We needed someone to do the creativity side of things. And we didn't get it for 3 windows in a row. And if it doesn't happen in January, it'll be the 4th window in a row, and everyone will go, well, what's going on? Because there's blame in multiple directions for me right now. For me, there is blame to be looked at with, well, Daniel Farke hasn't made the right substitutions, the right in-game changes enough. And that is costing us points, as we saw this last weekend. And there's blame to be given to individual players for their mistakes, without a doubt. So, where was it? Here. With the Rodon just deciding not to jump. Perry cannot see that free kick until it's over the top of the Leeds wall. He can't react to that in time. The point of a wall is to jump, and Rodon doesn't. So there is blame to be apportioned to individual players as well. But there is also blame to be given at board and ownership level, because we've had this clear problem for a hell of a long time now. Fix it. Please. Just fix the thing. But we've not. And that's the issue. There's clearly an ongoing recruitment thing. And that's nuts. I don't understand it. Hey, just got here. Is anything I missed? Just a sort of breakdown of what the problem is right now and how things need to be more good, I think. But I don't know. On the having expensive defenders on the bench thing that everyone screams, this is one that I think is a weird sort of misunderstanding of stuff. So, James Justin is on the bench. Bornow on the bench. Fine. Cool. Beal is on the bench. Cool. The fact that we've paid money for them doesn't make them better players than the players that are on the pitch. Because the moment Beal came into the side, we increasingly saw the issue of late runners being unmarked. And for me, that is something that you probably leave a player out for a game or two for to go, okay, we'll fix that and we'll bring in Strauch in the meantime. If you want to have a go at the fact that James Justin is on the bench, then tell me which one of Bogle and Goodmanson gets dropped. Because ultimately, the thing of there's this much money on the bench doesn't matter in the slightest. Because at the same time, I could say, well, we've got Brendan Aronson on the bench. That's £25 million worth of player. And you might say, well, because he's not worth £25 million right now. To which you reply, weird that, innit? It's almost like price doesn't equal value. Because otherwise, Strauch would have never played a game of football ever because we got him for free from a Dutch academy. Why buy them if finances are so tight? Because, to be honest, and having heard this from people that have something to do with the club were expecting to make sales during the window. and then Harrison didn't go, and then Melier didn't go, and then Joseph decided to not sell. But yeah, so it became a case of, well, shit, we've done the defenders, we've done the midfield, and now we need to sort out attackers, but we've not got the money in. That was the problem. Prolonging the inevitable until Arne Slot, Eddie Howe, or Marco Silva become available. Yeah, I think Slot goes relatively soon if things keep going downhill. He's lost 6 out of 7, which is bad. Howe, I don't reckon he gets sacked. Marco Silva, I don't know. They got the priorities wrong. I don't know if they did. You can say you buy the attackers first, but if you have a look at what an attack-heavy side looks like in the Premier League, a team that is like, yeah, let's do the transitional stuff, let's play vibes ball, then you end up conceding 78 goals. And cool, you've scored 48. That's not too bad. But you get relegated on 31 points. Thanks, Jesse. I think having depth at centre-back isn't the problem here. And admittedly, I think they've screwed up the PSR stuff anyway. Because I think the way to... What do you mean rubbish? Do you think it was a balanced transfer window? I think the order of going defence, midfield, attack makes sense. For me, that's fine. Because if you sort out your defence first, cool, you're more solid. If you sort out your midfield next, nice, you win the midfield battle a little bit more. And for me, the failures in defence and midfield recently are tactical rather than personnel. And then the idea is remaining funds go into the attack, and it turns out there's no remaining funds because you didn't sell anyone. For me, it was a case of you've done the order right, you've not had the funding to do the rest of it. And on the funding note as well, so profoundly daft to not say, we'll just sell someone next summer to fill the PSR gap. Because that makes so much more sense than our current case of, I'll take a bit of a gamble. Because that's daft. It just is. Spoke to about 21 years, the all turns down because it won't be because none of them have heard of Daniel Farke. Because at the same time, very few players will have heard of Reggie Labrie. There's so many managers that will be relative unknowns, and the Premier League is something of a draw. Just the issue is we're not as much of a draw as the Champions League, which is where Pajot went. So it's understandable that we lost that one. I think the whole thing of people making up, like, it's because Daniel Farke doesn't have a big profile. Players don't give a fuck about that. They want to know the level of football they're playing at. They want to know the system that they are playing in. And that'll do it. No one goes... Like, if we were to hire Edin Terzic as the example, and we try to sign Edward Spurchan to play in the 10, there is no chance in hell Spurchan looks at Leeds, and if he's not heard of Edin Terzic, goes, actually, maybe not. Because I've not heard of that man's name. That's not how it works. The Premier League is a big fucking draw. It's just not Marseille in the Champions League, as was the case with Pajot. Farke has made promises that they couldn't keep regarding buying players. Farke may have made a wish list, but the recruitment team seems to have gone for players further down the list. Yeah, it all adds up to not ideal. I've seen enough from the players to suggest with better coach. Hello, Matty, by the way. With better coaching, we may have a chance, but by process of elimination, we probably still go down. Who else is the third worst side? The nose hope be good. I'm okay-ish. Since we last chatted, Matty, I fell unconscious in a hospital and banged my head on a toilet, which is good fun. So I'm trying to pop ideas together, but yeah. But I don't know. I think in terms of squad, there are squads that we are better than. But we need to fix that in January. I think managerial changes on the horizon regardless. I've said the names that I would prefer us to go for being the likes of a Terzic. It's just where we end up now. Bloody hell, go study, make big love. I'm doing my best. I'm goalkeeping later as well. That's going to be fun. Also, I'm going to cheekily add you as a mod, by the way, Matty. Purely because, like a brain thing, I'll explain afterwards. But there's also the issue with the dressing room, which is if there is a chance that Farke has lost the dressing room, it's a bit not good. Do a manager tier list, maybe. Now, there's managers that I don't know enough about, and there's managers that I know too much about. So, on the list, and there's the fact that like people want different things from managers and all that kind of stuff. So. Thought process seems to be that attacking players are a luxury that a newly promoted team can't afford, but spending most of your budget on players for the bench isn't. Well, the idea was Beale would start, and then Beale didn't impress, so Beale isn't starting. Like, at the end of the day, in the event that Rodon manages to head a human being, as he tends to do, get himself a concussion and be unavailable at the same time as Strauch has his annual injury, if you hadn't bought those players, then your centre-back pairing becomes Anton Stack and Ethan Ampadu. Whereas if you've bought cover, you're fine. You can't just buy players for the situation that ends up actually happening, because in that case, you're reading the future and everything's cool. But that's not the world we live in. So, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I'm going to bring the stream to a close in a moment. Sorry, it was a little bit of a wandery, iffy one, but we'll see how things go. If you haven't, I'd massively appreciate you popping a like on the stream. That'd be absolutely wonderful. Comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I'm going to dip off now. So I will see you later. Toodaloo, amigos.